Wait for some people to show up. And check my fancy new website. Negative2.live. See if it actually recognizes that I'm streaming. Hey, already got some viewers. A viewer. Some viewers. A viewer. Hello, single viewer. Got some things updated. Everything is looking good so far. Mostly. I think Twitch still hates me. Let's see. Shows I'm streaming. Good. Now, if only my website would actually work, huh? Give everybody a couple minutes here to filter in before we actually really start getting into it. And also all right. All right, let's start some development. Oh, that was my knee. So we have a mess of a MySQL thing, but we'll get this fixed at some point. Look at this beautiful live chat though. Beautiful website, brand new, very shiny. Not shine. Yeah. Alright, yeah, so right now we have a mess of a MySQL set of tables. I'm not quite sure. Oh boy, I can't quite remember what the hell I was thinking when I made these. That's a slight issue. But I have a giant list. Let me show you my giant list. That's what she said. Of issues, i.e. to-dos, that I'm supposed to be doing here. Oh lord, 2 pages. So many enhancements. The thing is, I'm not sure exactly how I want to go about doing this, because this tab chat is supposed to be, let me see here, there's a cat. She says pay attention to me. Should be, there's another project called like Tabby Chat or Tab Chat or something. Let's see, Tab Chat in Bucket. Something that this was based off of. Oh, Tab Channels, I think is what it's called. Let me see here. Yes. Yeah, so it's based off this, called Tab Channels. but I don't know how best to go about like the whole clicking thing. Show the cat on stream. The cat is gone. Sorry. Well, I think the best place to start is to kind of check out the GitHub that they have here. And yeah, see if I can figure out what the hell they were even doing with their resource. Got a plugin.yml. I know. Poor kitty. I'm sorry. So it does depend on protocol lib, which scares me a little bit. I'm not sure why it depends on protocol lib, but if I'm gonna have to screw with protocol stuff, this is not gonna be a fun time. We'll have to see. Otherwise, looks like there are commands for switching channels and things. I think what ends up happening is it probably... yeah, it probably ends up, when you click one of these channels, it probably just runs the command for you, the switch channel command. Switch and channel. Private chat channel, so it does have PMs, DMs, whatever you want to call it. And the project.artifact ID, that's an interesting way of doing that. I suppose that technically works, but create channel. So you can just create random channels then? Is it like a group channel, I wonder? I don't know. To see. So we have the commands here at least. Does it have a database of any sort, or is it purely relying on memory? I think it is just purely memory. Yeah. Map of subscribers and channels. Okay. Oh, this is not going to be fun. Alright. Let's skip the SQL database for now and focus more on, let's open a recent project, something like simple staff chat possibly, that way I can pull a bunch of stuff from it. How else do I want to do this? I'm thinking we want to create the common, probably the API first. So let's do that. And the config, likely. Or do I want to do the SQL first? Actually, the SQL first isn't a bad idea. That's probably why I did it. Yeah, let's open up the workbench. Nice. And I think I have this open. Yes, using MariaDB. Excellent. All right. Common SQL. Right. So I want, yeah, so I have this all copied in. So all the structure should be created. And there's a few features that we want. Some of the features, a few features, he says. Townie integration, Jesus Christ, channel distances. Bungee cord integration, which is fine. Full integration with Clips placeholder API. Okay. Adding placeholders via placeholder API, including relational placeholders, meaning each user receives a potentially different message. The plugin is chat adjacent information. So that's easy enough. That I can do in the API once I actually get it, or once I get this API set up. I can just do placeholder API integration outbound. So when a user sends a message, maybe they could do placeholder API stuff in the message, and then every time someone receives that message, they can receive a potentially different message right here. So in the code that actually broadcasts the message to each player, it would throw it through placeholder API, which is probably decent. Might have to limit somehow, probably via permissions, what placeholders that people can use. An announcements channel, yeah. So giving players the ability to connect to a particular channel is what I'm going to want, which means I have to store the channels that each user is using. First I have to create the channels. Okay, let's start simple. We'll create the channels, right? Let's get rid of all of these tables just to have a fresh light theme. Yeah, actually it's not. Is there a theme here for SQL Workbench? I assume there is. SQL Workbench. Excuse me while I blind everybody on stream, including myself. Is there not a light theme or a dark theme? Oh, settings appearance. Edit preferences. Appearance? I don't see a theme here that I can use. So, I'm sorry. Relax. Yeah, let's drop all these. And drop the procedure. And kind of start from scratch. So we have tchat data, and this is literally just a key value store. Pretty much just exclusively used with versioning, but it kind of could be used for whatever. We have servers. The question is, do I want... Yes, I think I do want servers. So I want to store the server that a message is coming from in case people want to do tab chat across a network. I do want like cross-network capabilities here. And worlds. Oh shit, yeah. Okay, so there's probably a better way to do this. I could do world and server in one. Would that make more sense? Does each world have a unique ID that's assigned to it? I don't think they do. At least not a permanent one. And world is kind of a lookup, I guess. So tchat worlds would be like a name lookup from a particular ID. Yes, worlds do have a unique identifier that are persistent. Okay. So that's not a terrible idea. Yeah, UUIDs or the world IDs are persistent. Yeah. Well, player UUIDs are persistent, but our world UUID is persistent. Do they exist? Can I access them through the Bukkit API? I might have to leave that for now until I can think of a better way to do that. And players is the same as servers. I do actually want to store players' display names, I think. Do I play on Hypixel? No, I don't. I don't actually play Minecraft, sadly. World.getUID. Okay, I suppose that makes sense. So yeah, players is the same as servers. I do want to actually store players. And I believe I do want to store their display name, because it'll actually make for easy lookups across network. What am I making? I'm making a plugin called TabChat. It's similar to this, actually, just an updated version with a bunch more features and various things. So it's a super nice little tabbed chat for Minecraft, because Minecraft desperately needs something like that. So at least servers and players I think are relatively safe. I'm probably not going to change those. I might combine worlds into servers. Does that make sense? That's the real question. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to I'm trying to essentially make a radius, right? So you have a radius of 0. So if you have a radius of -1, it'll be across a network. If you have a radius of 0, it's in the same server but world bound. Does that make sense? No, that doesn't, because you'd have to have several. Okay, so a radius of -2. I want to be efficient and not have to store extra data if possible. So let's say a radius of -2 is network bound, where it broadcasts to the entire network. And then a radius of -1 is server bound, where it broadcasts to the entire server. Radius of 0 is world bound, where it broadcasts to the world but not the whole server. And then anything above that is an actual radius inside the world that you're in. Now the question is, do we want that to be per channel? Yes, I think so. Making some design decisions here. So yeah, I'm gonna say that we probably want each channel to be able to specify whether or not it's for the network, the server, the world, or a radius. So here we have, okay, so I did create this before. We have the server that it's coming from, that the message is coming from, the world the message is coming from, the prefix of the player, the display name of the player, the suffix of the player, and their message finally. Hey, it's a guy. Ah, little Bobby Tables, I see. How would you do it across servers? That's actually relatively easy. I say relatively. It would be through MySQL, Redis, and RabbitMQ. You could do a combination of those three, or any one of those three, or whatever, and it would work. Oh, I do already have this, -2 distance. Okay. Could do instead of distance, radius, because that would make more sense to my monkey brain. And what about chat for only, i.e., 2 worlds? Do you have a use case for that? Is there a particular use case for chat that goes across 2 worlds and not an entire server? Like, I'd be curious to see how that, yeah. I'm not, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would require a redesign, and I'm not sure what the benefit would be. Have you ever heard of a chat that goes across only 2 worlds? I haven't. I wouldn't be using this plugin anyway. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's one of those things that honestly, like, you could use it if you're the type of server that has enough players that you could use it. Then this is probably your plugin. But small servers probably don't actually need it. If you can think of it, someone has a horrible use case for it. Yeah, I know, right? So, I suppose, yeah, I do want a world lookup. So, basically I want lookups for everything through an ID. Because if I have an ID, then it'll be a lot faster to look up through MySQL instead of trying to look up things or store things by name. It's more efficient. It's more of a pain in the ass, but it's more efficient this way. So, right, channels. We have the ID of the channel, the name of the channel, a prefix for the channel. What was that for? That was for, okay. So that was for if you're typing in chat. And then instead of typing, instead of switching to a channel or, running a command to chat in a channel, then what you would do is you would just specify a prefix, like question mark or something, and it would post it into a specific channel. If that makes sense. It's a one character prefix. So you could do like, for example, if you were typing regularly in chat, you could just do like pound test, right? And then that would send test through whatever channel has that prefix pound. Defaults, factions UEID support. I mean, it's probably on the list. Let's see. Is there a factions? Nope. Oops. Nope, there isn't a factions UEID support for issue open for TabChat. That's just placeholder API support. Yeah, that's fair. It probably is just placeholder API support. Which is on the first page. So default is whether or not players get this channel by default when they log in. That's a good feature to have. And then the format of the channel itself, of course, which defaults to this. This is decent. It works. It doesn't fit with my use case. You know what? Placeholder API fits with my use case, and that's all that matters. Okay, cooldown. That would make sense, right? And the cooldown is in seconds, I believe. I wanted seconds, since that's easier to do for, you know, people. Monkey brains, you know. Oh yeah, global. Pound, right here. Actually, and the radius is -2, so that is network-wide. So this is all relatively simple. You have, you know, servers, players, worlds, and you have channels. Most importantly, you have, you know, the particular channels that players can actually use. Now we get into the, oh fuck, what am I doing stuff, which is player channels, which is a whole different thing. Player channels are channels that are used from player to player, or channels that can be created through a group. So group channels and PMs or DMs, whatever you want to call them, are going to be the same kind of category of channel design, in that you will have a channel ID, a channel name, and X amount of players that can join that channel. So if it's a PM or a DM, then it's basically a channel with whatever name, it doesn't matter, I'll figure that out later, and 2 players attached to it. Whereas a group channel would be more than 2 players, and you could then invite more players to your DMs, essentially. That makes sense to me anyway, but maybe it's just me. It reduces the amount of tables that I have to create. And offers me some options in the future. So, so I'd actually have to recreate this channel, because player channels is slightly different. It's the channels that players are actually joined to, but I'll have to figure that out later. I think I'm going to need to redesign this. So instead of T-Chat channels, this will be T-Chat like custom channels or custom. So it'll be custom channels, and then this one will be global channels. And so this will actually, I don't think it needs a name. Well, giving players the ability to name the channel is probably not a bad idea. So we could do name, yeah. No prefix. Custom group channels, I think we'll get into conflicts with prefixes being reused if players are allowed to create their own channels with their own prefixes, and that's going to be a nightmare to deal with for both server admins and myself. So I think leaving out prefix from these channels is probably not a bad idea. Obviously, you can't have a default channel with players creating it. Format. I think I want to kill the normal format and just do a static format on these channels. So it would just be like player message, something like this, but that would be static and you wouldn't be able to change it. It'll reduce my workload and probably eliminate a lot of confusion, because formats are hard. Oh, I want to turn the music down a bit. Thank you. How's that? Is that better? Well, I am saying something. Alright. Okay. You're good. So radius, again, I think I do want to kill and maybe cooldown as well. I know I'm killing a lot of things, including the format, but I vote on having a config-defined default format. Yeah, I think that's probably the best. At least for custom channels, having a default format would be good. I would like to do a per channel format on the global channels, though, the ones that the server admin sets. So, or moderators, admins, whoever has the permissions to set these global channels, I think should be allowed to give them different cooldowns, radiuses, and formats. But the custom channels, I think should, yeah, maybe a config-defined default would be good. And so we're probably going to have a lot of these default, or these custom channels. But I can't think of a way around that, so that's probably going to have to be like that. Yeah. It's literally just going to be an ID and a name. Okay. I'm thinking about the radius. I don't think we want users to define the radius. I think we just want it to be network-wide always. Because that'll be kind of like a party chat kind of thing, you know? Yeah, we should do that. Eliminate the cooldown, because people can just kick people from channels, and then eliminate the radius. because it's more of a party chat system at that point. Okay. Alright, now the issue is that I have to somehow make these two identifiers not collide, because I want players to be able to join channels, but I want one table for it. And I want I want one table for players who are joining certain channels. So somehow these IDs are going to have to either not collide, or I'm going to have one ID for the two of them or something. I'm in favor of default format for any channel being in the config, so it pulls the default value from the server admin defined config instead of using a SQL table defined default. Basically just shifting where that default gets defined. Alright, enjoy your snacks. I appreciate it. The thing is, I do like the, I do like the idea, or the easiness of having these formats in the configs, but you're going to probably want to define a format per channel, and you're going to want that format to be updated instantly across the entire network. So putting in a config across an entire network would be a giant pain in the ass for any server admin. Although the same could be said for the custom channels as well. It's difficult to account for every use case. I'm trying to go for the easiest to configure for everybody except me. Because if it's hard for me, then fine, who cares? But if it's hard for server admins, they won't use it. If it's hard for players, server admins won't use it. Or players won't use it, and then server admins won't use it. So somehow I'm going to have to combine these two identifiers. Well, SQL has this lovely thing with inheritance. Unfortunately, I want SQL and SQLite, and SQLite does not support inheritance. So I'm kind of limited by the fact that I want to support SQLite. I mean, H2 would also be a good option. So I want to merge, well, sort of merge the tables, because what I want to do is I want to have a new table in order to keep track of which players have which channels open. I'm going to need to create a table that has the player ID and the channel ID like I have here. The problem is if I do that, then if you have a global channel with an identifier here, let's say you have a global channel with ID 1, and then you have your first custom channel, so that'll be ID 1. So which channel ID is this player joining then? Are they joining the custom channel, or are they joining the global channel? I don't know. Yeah, I can't really have proper foreign keys, I guess. Yeah. Or, well, I can't have proper inheritance, at least with SQLite. SQLite does not have inheritance. So somehow I'm going to have to take these two IDs and make sure they don't collide. What I could do is I could have these... I could make this really cheap, actually. And do something like... and I'll auto increment. The question is, can I... So what happens if I create a table here, right? Tchat channels, right? and I make kind of a base. Something like this, right? And then I just have this big end reference something like this. References TChat channels ID. Does that actually work? I don't think so, because that'll be a foreign key constrained, right? So I wouldn't be able to, I would have to create a TChat channels ID first, and then I would be able to create the channel based off that, which is a giant pain in the ass, but I think would work. It's basically to, I mean, how often are you going to be creating channels, right? Well, okay, maybe players will be. It's going to hit the database, but it's fine. I like being efficient, but I think that's probably about as efficient as that's going to be. So in this case, it'll still reference the TChat channels ID, and every time you create one of the custom channels or the global channels, you have to get the ID first. And then once you have the ID, then you can create the name or the prefix default, yada yada. So that should be good. And so this table basically just says this player has joined this channel ID. And so I can just go through and get all of the, once I have the player ID through the players table, get the ID here, I can literally just go through this table and pick up all of the channel IDs that the players joined. So now I have regular channels or global channels, custom channels, and I give each player the ability to join channels and create their own custom channels, at least on the database end. So next is to give players the ability to chat. And I will skip ignoring and muting for now, I think, because that's going to have to be later. Those are going to have to be features for a later date. I'm trying to like sit here and tick off all my future issues all at the same time, and I don't think that's going to happen. I really need to just get a basic system down first, and then I can start ticking off extra features. So now I have to get a table that actually allows players to chat. So we've got a chat table, and this will have a chat ID, a server ID, player ID, channel ID, which references the base channels. I don't think this is copyright free. God damn it. He says, I'm fairly certain that is not a copyright-free song. Oh, Lord. Well, let's hope YouTube doesn't dock me too much for that one. Let's go with this. Hopefully this is all royalty-free. Alright, so we have channel ID and a world ID, which I do have, yes. Location X, Y, and Z, which I think I should I set that to null? No. Because this will be a history. So you want to know the player's location when you go back into chat history. See where they are. And then of course the message that they actually sent. And finally the date that they sent it. Is that all you need, I think? Because it's just broadcasting to a particular channel. default one, which is the global channel. Yeah, I think that's about all you'd need. Alright, so we've got get queue after ID, after excluding server ID, and then after that ID, yeah. Okay. Here's the problem, is I don't know, after I get the channel identifier, I don't know whether or not it's global or custom. That is a problem. Because now all of my B's are dead? Yeah, b.name is channel name, right? Well, I don't know which one that is. Unless, well, both of these actually share a name, so I could be extra sneaky here. Perfect. Yep. I know that this is kind of useless, but I'm going to keep it just in case I want to add more stuff to this later. So yeah, I'm just going to be sneaky and do this, I think. And then I'll worry about all of this other additional stuff later, essentially. So you have players. So okay, so you have the chat, right? The actual chat ID. You have the server ID and name, the player ID and name. The display name? Yes. Yeah. Let's see, what do I have over on this guy? Yeah. So the channel, c.channel. No, do I have that? No, I have channel ID. So this is actually channel ID. Name is channel name. World ID, world name. Which makes sense. And then finally, the chat location X, Y, and Z, the message, and its date. Okay. And so we're going to actually eliminate this and replace any instance of tchat with a placeholder called prefix, because that'll be useful for the configuration later. Hello, it's a Kamikaze LTU. How are you today? Okay, that should be it for now. For the MySQL portion of this. Oh, this is a giant pain in the ass, but I think this will work. He says. All right, now we work on the API. Or the configuration. Let's work on the configuration for now, because it's relatively easy and it lets me kind of visualize what I want to do. Also, let's create these tables. There it is. Wait, store procedures? Did not? Oh. Tchat channels doesn't exist. Where did I not? It's right here. chat. Oh, whoops. That was dumb. This is where we check these things. Num column prefix. No, probably because, yeah, I don't have it going into global channels. I'll actually need to insert twice. Once into tchat channels, ID, values 1, and then once into the global channels. You can just call it just a Kamikaze. Okay. Hello, Kamikaze. I am good. I'm working on trying to get this SQL working. Oh, come on. Unknown column name. What? What are you talking about? Oh. Wow, I'm an idiot. I just discussed doing this too. There we go. There we go. Hey, perfect. Have the store procedure? I do. Fantastic. So one more time, we'll just do this. Delete this. Replace all. There we go. Okay. So now we go and create our config.yml. And I'm going to cheat and copy and paste a bunch of stuff that I already created, because this makes so much more sense. Can I ask how many computer languages you know? I know Java, C#, C++ to a fair degree, thanks to Arduino. Python, assembly, MIPS specifically, and HTML, CSS, I guess, if you count those. And ActionScript 3 as well, I suppose, if you count that. So a few. So the database is going to be called TabChat. And our prefix is tchat. Which is best, or which best code? I'm sorry, which best code? I mean, languages. So the funny thing about languages is everyone always says, oh, this is the best language to learn, or this is the best thing to do, or this is what you should be using, you know, whether it be Rust or C++ or Java or whatever, right? And the problem with that is that each language kind of has its own niche. You could write anything in any language, just about, I think. But the problem with that is that some languages are better at certain things than others. If you don't spend the time to learn at least a few languages, then you're way behind what you should be. Especially because a lot of people will use particular languages because that's what they're comfortable with. If you're working on a team and everyone's using language X and you only know language Y, then you're kind of the outcast in that team, and you're going to have a lot of issues catching up. So it's good to be generally knowledgeable about a few different languages across the spectrum. And then if you get shoved into a team where, you know, everyone's using language Y, either you already know it or it's close enough to another language that you can learn it fairly easily. So there's no one good language to learn. Sorry, that's the short answer. How long did it take me to learn it? Oh, I also know PHP. Forgot about that one. I haven't used that one in years. Which language? Python, it took me about a week to pick up. I mean, I don't know all of the super highly advanced technical details. but I mean, I can definitely create some pretty decent stuff in Python just fine. Some fairly advanced stuff anyway. Oh, hey, thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, Python took me a week or two. Java, consider myself fairly advanced in Java. I don't know a bunch of the technical details, nuances of the language. That took me a couple of years. MIPS, I'm fairly beginnerish, but I know my way around. Took me a month or two. So it really depends on the language and how familiar you want to be with it, and how familiar you are with other languages similar to it. Let's get rid of this prefix. It's called tab chat, not SSC. Same thing here, tchat, and tab chat for the database name. And same here. I just want, yeah, this to all reference tab chat rather than, this is gonna have to change, but I'll figure out what I want to do then. Okay, so I got rid of all the references to simple staff chat and replace them. I want to learn it for a long time, but I don't know what is the best way. What language are you referring to? Java? Java, honestly, the way I learned Java is I just kind of dived into it. You know, I was like, hey, I want to pick up Java. So what's the easiest and, well, at least the most fun way to do that? And I figured Minecraft plugins, and so here I am, still doing those today. And I'm still learning a lot about them. Or Java. Okay, so the format, yeah. So I think what I want to do is format to use for custom private channels. Do I even want to give server admins that? Yes, I would like to have it be a config option, but at the same time, I don't know. That'd be a giant pain in the ass for any server admin trying to set this plugin up across the network. Are you going to use that procedure you put in the resources? Are you talking the mysql.sql file? This is actually going to be, yeah. This file is actually going to be loaded on startup. So when the server starts up, if it sees that it's connecting to a SQL database, it will try and grab the version that it has, with the database version that is being used, and it will load. If it doesn't find a version, it'll load this entire file in, replacing prefixes. EasySQL? Yes, using my library, EasySQL, because I find it to be easy. Yeah, imagine being a server admin and trying to like set up all of your servers to be the same with this kind of config. I don't like formats and configs for that reason. Consistency is a bitch. So I think I'll get rid of it for now. And I'm just going to do a format that makes sense based on where players are relative to other players. Allow codes, yes. Levels doesn't matter because they're channels now instead of levels. And the rest of this is ready to go. Just set the config version, and yes, this is it. Okay, so that is easy enough. Now the important bit is actually getting the Java files created. So we'll create a package here, the API created specifically, so that way I can use the API in Bucket later. There we go. And so I'll copy over a couple of things that I already have set up, such as the API exception. Is SQL using Java language 2, or is it like converter for every language? It's neither. Yeah, it's its own language. It's called the server query language, in fact. That's what SQL stands for. It's a language designed to query databases. So it's a whole separate beast. No, you're fine. Honestly, I wasn't born knowing what SQL was. Everyone's got to learn at some point. So I'm wondering, yeah, I probably want to create the API class here. So we'll name it tab chat API, because that would make sense. And we'll give it our logger, of course. And it's a singleton instance. There we go. Oh, tab chat. Just copy paste a bunch of stuff, it's fine. There we go. I'm copying and pasting a lot of stuff from Staff Chat because it's a very similar plugin. And I don't like recoding stuff. So we're going to have an API method called sendChat, which will allow us to basically send a chat message as any player. So what am I doing here? Just recoding Minecraft? I'm not recoding Minecraft, sadly. I'm creating a plugin for Bucket servers. This plugin will be kind of a tabbed chat system, so something like this essentially, but updated. So it actually works. Using all of these issues as a guide. So in this case, I actually do want to create another procedure, I think. Possibly? Yeah, probably. So I want a procedure that I can call it basically just inserts data into the chat, because I want this to be updatable. The whole point of versioning SQL is that way I can update it later. So what I want to do is create a new procedure here called chat, I guess, or post chat, post. There, post. And the stuff I need for posting chat, it's going to be the channel ID, and I think that's a unsigned big int. It is. Server ID, player ID, yeah. The server ID, which is another unsigned big int. Player ID, yet again, unsigned big int. Server ID, player ID, channel ID, world ID. And location, X, Y, and Z. Which is actually going to be a double. Location Y and location Z. The message and the date will automatically be created. So just message, which will be a medium text. Okay. So this will basically just do an insert query for me. So why am I not doing this in Java itself? Why am I creating an entire procedure for just basically what amounts to an insert query? The answer is upgradability. If I decide to change things later on, as long as I either keep this procedure or don't change the header or the name of the procedure, then I can update any of these tables without interfering with different versions of the plugin running at the same time. So I can change databases around without having to worry too much about what versions are of the plugin that people are running, or whether or not they've upgraded one server and haven't upgraded another, which does happen. So insert into tchat, chat I think, right? Yeah, chat. And the values are going to be is there any performance benefit using procedures over inline SQL in your code? Probably not. In fact, it might be a performance detriment, but it wouldn't be that large a detriment. Specifically because MySQL does have really good caching. So I'm going to want to insert server ID, player ID, channel ID, yeah. So server ID, player ID, channel ID, world ID, location X. Location Y. Location Z. Message and date. And our values. Will be something like this. Two lines above there was IDs. I don't understand. IDs? I don't know. There we go. And so our server ID will be the server ID as given. Player ID will be player ID as given. Channel ID, world ID, that all stays the same. But our locations, X, Y, and Z, will be instead these guys. X, Y, and Z. And finally, a message and our date, which is going to be current timestamp. Oh, that's already a default. Well, I don't even need that. There we go. Hey, it's a Moonblocks. How's it going? You don't have to check the ID's name, server player. You typed it like 2 lines above. Oh yeah, I did. That's okay. I'm an idiot. Okay, so now we have a method that we can call called post. Like I said, as long as the method signature doesn't change, this shouldn't change in theory. Or the plugin shouldn't break, I should say. I'm glad Moonblocks is good. Alright, there we go. I do want to copy over a few more things here. Let's get a extended do a cached config values and a configuration. That's fine. Don't want the chat format. Don't want this. Okay. That's all for the config at the moment. Sorry for my grammar. Oh, you're fine. No worries. Almost 5 a.m. You should be going to bed. Okay, so we have storage and messaging. And in here we have our cached config values, which, yeah, I'll have to just import real fast. And a config util, which I do not have. There we go. And now I have. Well, you should be going to sleep. It's 5 a.m. I wouldn't be awake. So a lot of these are going to be different, but I'll have to kind of deal with it. And what I need is channel ID, server ID, so I don't think the channel ID is a byte. I think it's literally going to be a long channel ID. And I do when I do level up, because once I put it on trap 1, level up again, I can't do anything. What's this? Oh, it's good. Okay, let's see. Do level up once, it puts on trap 1. But when I do level up again, it doesn't do anything. What is trap 1? Oh, I see. Well, first, that level up needs to be in quotes. And so you're going through the lore. By the way, this doesn't necessarily return a non-null. So we take a look at advanced enchantments here. So if you take a look at this, what ends up happening is, let's see if I can remember where this goes. I think it's bucket enchantable item. It is. So the item in meta, take a look here, is not necessarily going to be not null. So you might run into a null pointer exception later on down the line. Let's see if I can find my kind of hacky workaround for this. Yes, it's right here. So what I end up doing is I just kind of added this bit of code, which basically forces an item meta on the item. So you have the get meta here. So instead of doing this bit, you do, yeah, item meta equals get meta from the item. So that will actually force create an item meta along with a lore attachment to it, if need be. Be aware that that will also replace the item. So only use this if you're very sure that you're going to end up attaching some kind of lore to the item, or removing some kind of lore from the item. Item get type 2-string contains sword. Okay, that works, I guess. Random number 99. That's interesting. Why do you have this? What's this utils.random number? Wouldn't math.random be what you want? And then has enchant. So I'm not sure what has enchant. Ah. Okay, so that's actually somewhat similar to my code down here. Somewhere. Let's see. The rewrite enchant meta, I think. That's what I'm looking at. No. Set shiny. Strip enchants and souls. Strip souls. I think the strip enchants and souls is what I was looking for. Yeah, so this has enchant is somewhat similar to what I have here. With just basically parsing the name. So I'm doing the chat color.strip color, which you probably want to do because you're adding chat colors to here. And it looks like you're not stripping them here, or I'm sorry, not stripping them here. You're doing it using a contains. A random number is just a chance of something to happen. Yeah, well, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's the difference between this, utils.random number, and say, like, math.random is less than 99, or 0.99. Like, what's the difference between those two? Because math.random is going to be a lot faster than your function, whatever your function is, because random is inlined. Either way, looking for lore through a contains isn't necessarily what you want, because if you say like has enchant, right, trap, and you create an enchantment called trap, and you have another enchantment called, let's say, death trap, then has enchant for trap is going to trigger on both trap and death trap. I have a problem with my nose almost from times when I was a baby, sleep with my mother. Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks, man. Should probably go to a doctor for that. How does math.random work? Math.random creates a random number between 0 and 1. So you'll end up with a random number, like I said, between 0 and 1. If you were to multiply that number by 100, you would end up with a random number between 0 and 100, inclusive. So if you did times 100, then equal less than would be 99. But you don't need that because there's no reason to do the extra math if you can just do 0.99. Yeah, you could do 0.000001. Be aware that's going to be multiplied by 100. So that'll actually be that number minus 2 zeros in the front. That will be your percentage chance. It's not actually multiplied by 100, but if you're going to, try and think about it with your monkey brain, then you want to multiply it by 100 to get a percentage chance. So if you do let's say 0.001, right? And you multiply this by 100, it's actually a 0.1% chance. Or if you do 0.01, you multiply it by 100, it's actually a 10% chance. If you do 0.99, you actually multiply it by 100, and it's a 99.0% chance. Exactly, yeah. So with the has enchant, I would actually do something similar to this. So the lore and the name, I gotcha. Yeah. So I would actually do for line in lore, or string s in lore, whatever. Sure. So we'll do new line is chat color.strip color.trim. So we're stripping the color out from the new line and trimming it. So we're trimming the excess white space around the edges of the string. And then we're going to split it by spaces. Multiple spaces, or tabs. White space, essentially. So we're chopping off words. And so this code basically strips the enchantments from the item. Which is not what you want. You just want to detect whether or not it's actually an enchant. But you can actually get the enchant name through this miracle of a method here, which is fine. Oh, hey, thank you for the follow. Thanks for the follow, Moonblocks. So this is a miracle of a function. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Basically takes the new lines that we split and puts it together in such a way that it ends up with the enchantment data per line, if that makes sense. I don't know if that actually makes any sense. I hope it does. But this will be, so if let's say your enchantment is something like trap 2, right? And this enchant name will actually be trap without any spaces around it. So it'd be that. Or if your enchant name is like mega trap, then it will actually be mega and trap in this string. And so what you want to do is you want to string.join this with spaces. So instead of mega trap, now it's down here, it's mega trap. Thanks for your help and all the info. I think we'll go watch some movies. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. So we're basically splitting and joining the string on various bounds, and that's kind of to normalize the data, because the problem with lore is any plugin can stick any random data in it that it wants, and that could be a problem because who knows what's in there. This is just to try and even out everything and make sure that everything that we're catching in the enchants is actually the enchants. But eventually, yes, so this will actually be your enchant name here. So you want equals. Not equals, ignore case, but equals. You want to be as accurate or exact as possible. The thing is, you're calling has enchant for every single enchant, and splitting this lore is going to be a time consumer later. So what you want to do is you probably want to get a list of strings, or a list of enchants that you can pull from each item. So instead of calling this has enchant for every single enchant that you have in your dictionary, you would want to just say have a function called like parse lore or something like that that would return a list of enchant names and values. It would just parse the lore once and then return you a giant list, or a small list, or a list of nothing. And then get enchant level is the same kind of deal. Numerals are hard, so you probably want something like this to parse the numerals. Nobody likes numerals. Numerals suck. They look pretty, but they really suck to code. So this translates numerals back and forth, these two functions. Get value and get numerals. So you have your get enchant level, which sort of works. Here. Let's say, where are we? We're in enchant meta. So let's say we want to convert from the get value. Let's see, where have I used this before? Oh, something like this. Without logging. There it is. Add enchant. Oh, I'm sorry, get numerals, not get value. Get numerals. Oh no, it is get value, because we want to convert back. I'm sorry. Skipping around here a little bit. Just trying to figure out my own code again. This method, or this class, is a bit of a beast. Okay, lore.add. So, something like this. So if your command is level up, then you get the meta. Hey, it's a, oh lord, Kanawagasaki Yoko. Yes. I'm so sorry. Also, by the way, I plan on expanding this to make it so it loops back to the top if they already have the max enchant. Well, I mean, first of all, I would actually recommend using Advanced Enchantments API. You can add custom enchantments that way, and it uses a very efficient system that I created. But if you're going to use your own system, then this is what I would do. I would essentially copy this class. Is what I would end up doing. So then I have an array of lore. Oh, again, actually. So the lore I would nab from, let's see, do I have a get lore thing here? I probably do, somewhere. in this giant class. Yeah, okay. Or get meta. And then sometimes even then you don't actually have. So if meta is null, some items just don't have meta. How long do you... Oh, when I need advanced enchantments on my server list, yes, you would basically need advanced enchantments on the server in order for your custom enchantments to work, because it would be using the API. Well, that's if you wanted to do it the easy way. If you wanted to do it the hard way, you could actually create your own API for it, or your own implementation of the API. So that'd be a lot harder, but you could do it and create your own plugin off of that. And how long have I been modifying Minecraft? A couple years. So the lore is actually going to be... Let's see if I can find a place where I use this. Yep. There we go. So something like this. I'll do it the hard way. Yeah. Want it as custom as they can. Well, yeah, if you want to do it the really hard way, you could just do it all yourself, which you can do. And it would look something like this. So you have the item that's in the hand. You have the meta for the item. You have the lore for the item, potentially. I mean, either way, you're getting an array list, one way or another. I would actually do... This contains sword. I would actually do the meta and lore afterward, because that's slightly more efficient. If you're just going to check for swords and nothing else. And so you do a math.random. I'm not sure what the random is for, but oh, equals. Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. Well, no, because this is all in the same block. I'm not sure what the random is for. I plan on checking for pickaxes and other stuff later. Oh, okay. Well, I would do an item type. So items actually have types, or targets, I think is what they're called. And you can, let me actually open up my real project here, because that is a little bit more helpful. So you have enchantment targets that you can do. So if I were to do, enchantment target armor, that would apply to all armor. Or weapons, that would apply to all weapons. Things like that. So enchantment targets are probably what you want. So if you had something like explosive, you add the target tool to your custom enchantment. So I'll say it's a sword, and then for whatever reason, if the random is less than 90, you have a 99% chance of this command actually working. So that's interesting. You're going to be very confused if that 1% chance hits and nothing happens. Yeah, 99 for testing. Makes sense. So if has enchantment, lore, lore trap, lore the add, gold trap, aqua. So this would be something similar to what I have. Red or gray, get friendly name, plus a space, and then get numerals. So this would be plus get numerals for level 1, which is a lot easier to implement in code. So again, enchant level would actually be an integer, but you could mostly get rid of this. Mostly, you're gonna have to change this to something like an int. And so you're essentially copying this same function, which I don't like, but hey. Well, if you wanted 100%, then you would just do 1.0. That'll be 100%. Okay, so you have the line.split. Where's the enchant name? Did I get rid of that somewhere along the line? I just realized that that was missing. What happened to it? It just disappeared. That's the magic. Alright, there we go. Level. How do I end up with the level? That's the real question. There it is. Get level. Actually, is get level? No, get value. Oh, interesting. Okay. There we go. Nobody needs to know about that code. It's fine. Save the split, and then, yeah, the level here. I got so much to do because I'm going to make another lore with this. Yeah. Have you ever heard of cosmic prisons? Actually, I think I have. Possibly. Somewhere. Somewhere. Okay, so this should get your enchant level. So you have the enchant name. So it has enchant, and then yeah, get enchant level for the enchant. String enchant name. Level. Okay. What's this? It's max energy and then they do level up. Oh, I see. Yeah, I suppose that works. You can kind of modify this code to do that, essentially. Okay, so now you have levels that are... should be okay, right? Yes, I think that's okay. Again, Roman numerals are hard. So if not has enchant, so if they do not have the enchant trap, then add trap, add the trap enchant. Let's for clarity's sake, add an extra space in there. And then set lore, set meta, that works. And so your get enchant level, if your get enchant level is equal to 1, because now it's returning an int, remove the trap enchant. That's not quite going to work. Well, it will, but it's kind of messy. What I would do is I would what would I add trap to? Oh, I see. Okay. Or if you're just looking to do like upgrade or level up, okay, that makes sense. If you're just looking to do upgrades, in that case, I would do has enchant else int level plus plus, and then you add your enchant then. So yeah, you are going to have to remove the lore from the previous enchant. So you'd have to have not a has enchant, but a remove enchant with a name. And then you're going to void for, oh boy, let's see if I can remember how to do this. Iterator of type string I equals lore dot get, uh-oh, iterator? Oh, I think it's actually just iterator. And then I dot has next, I think. And then string s equals I dot next. And in this case, you're going to want to do I dot remove. And then you'll want to return. Oh, no. It's less efficient, but at least it catches everything at that point. So now you can remove your enchant. So remove enchant trap. And you can add your new enchant here with your next level, essentially. And then add your player.send message if you'd like. So that should be it, I think. Let's see, how do I save down at the bottom? That would make sense. So yeah, something like that should work. So try that. There you go. Alright, back to actual tab chat. So you have your channel ID, your message, server ID. Crap. I don't think I want, no, I do actually want a long for the channel ID. Server ID will be automatically sent. The world ID will be given through the name. So world name. Location Ah, that's right, I don't have any player locations or anything in here. And then the message. So double player X, double player Y, double player Z. In some cases we probably don't actually want the player location, so I'm gonna make those nullable. Default null. Yeah, in some cases, the if meta equals null return. In some cases, you won't have item meta. Oh, it's missing a return value? Yeah, probably. It's missing the boolean. It'd probably just return true in that case. Because you're still handling the command, you just don't have an item with any meta in it. So, there, return true. There you go. There's another one. So in this case, I do want these to default to null. And levels cannot be resolved. It's probably there somewhere, right? Oh, level rather than levels. Sure. I mean, you get the gist of it. Instead of levels, it's level. So I'm thinking, yeah, instead of location. No worries. There's a few, whatever. There's probably some mistakes. It's not an IDE. It's fine. So sometimes I don't want the location. I was thinking about that earlier, and I think yes, I don't want the location in some cases. So things like when the server is broadcasting a message, or when you broadcast to this console or something like that, then obviously you don't want a player location, or you don't have a player location. That would make sense. So in those cases, it would be this. Does SQL support operator overloading? No? We'll find out. It doesn't seem like it. So we'll do post simple. There we go. Have you tried dark mode on SQL? You see, I don't have a dark mode. If I go to edit preferences, appearance, there's no dark mode that I can immediately set. Fonts and colors, I have different color schemes, but I don't have a dark mode. I could manually set the colors, yes, but that would take a few minutes and it would be really boring to watch. Not that this isn't boring, he says. There we go. And so these actually are going to be, instead of not null, default null. There we go. So now I should be able to use some operator overloading to make this a little bit simpler. Because sometimes you don't have a player X, Y, and Z. And all you need in life is a server ID and a world name, and a message, and a player ID. So at least there's this. It's kind of a handful, but I can do this as well. The world name should also not be null. There we go. And it will basically be the same code. I'll have to copy and paste that later because there we go. Design is hard. I go back and forth a lot on my designs, but at least when I'm first creating them. It's difficult to design for every eventuality, and you will come across something that you didn't plan for, but I do try and plan for everything, or everything that I can. And sometimes you just kind of have to know when to give up and say these issues will be later. Things like ignoring and muting players will have to be later. Trello does help. I have yet to find... The problem with Kanbans is that I don't use them. So I have been meaning to try and, you know, get a Kanban or, you know, something that I actually use. But I don't know, or a task list, a to-do, whatever. GitHub Issues actually helps a ton. But yeah, I haven't yet found a Kanban that I actually use. It's hard. Okay, we'll just copy the configuration version detail because I don't see why not. No particular reason not to, anyway. There we go. Yeah, I need server ID, server name, and validation. Validation for UUIDs, server ID for the server ID, of course, and name for the name. Because you're going to have to name these somehow, and 1.14 got rid of the server name in the API. So now I have to create my own naming system. Which sucks, but what can you do? Alright, let me see if I have everything here. Just about. I need my services. Remove enchant trap. Anyway, so that says it cannot be applied to the string. What is remove enchant? That should be fine. Maybe the iterator is slightly different. They removed API. Yeah, so 1.14 bucket API got rid of the server.getName attribute, which was listed in the server.properties file. So if you have a server.properties file and you have a name in that, plugins can no longer use that name anymore. Or at least they can't with the default bucket API. They'd have to actually parse the file themselves, which I wasn't up to doing, so I figured I would just make my own system for that instead. A system that I can add colors to. So I have my storage handler. Do I want to put that down now? Probably yes. Well, no. What I want to do is put down my storage. And this is where interfaces come in handy. And storage exceptions. There we go. At least now I have storage exceptions. So now you can close storage, it's closed. Get queue, yeah, chat results. Get by player, post. Actually don't want that. I want, well, sort of do. Player ID, so something similar to this, actually. Boop. Like that. And then this is the simplified version where you don't have to submit the player data, just the ID. There we go. Don't need default. The issue? It's probably somewhere around me using like .iterator or something. I think it's I don't know, it's probably .get iterator, iterator capital or something, I don't know. It's something like this will work. You just have to kind of figure out from there. And so I do want to add in a core for chat results. So you have the ID, server name. This chat result is actually kind of a front end for this. So you have the ID, server name, player ID, player name. Yeah. String player name. And player display name. Channel ID, which will be a long. Server ID is UUID, yep. Channel name is the string. World ID, world name. So same here, just long world ID, string world name. The message and the date. Yep. And locations. So locations aren't necessarily going to be there, so I might need, I could do chat result. Yeah, that's fine. Just double. I can use nans, I suppose. Location X. Y and Z. So like I said, it's basically a copy of this, or this information. Server name, player ID, player name. String player display name. Long channel ID. channel name. World ID. String world name. It's a very long constructor, but that's okay. Double location X, Y, and Z. Go. And you have your message and datetime. And if you don't have your locations, you can do let's just use this constructor and do a this d server ID server name player ID player name player display name channel ID channel name world ID and world name, and then double.nan we're just gonna cheat basically. There. So something like that. Now I can actually return chat result from these methods. And storage is now listed. Player ID, player name, stop player name. Channel IDs, channel ID. And then location X and Y and Z. There we go. Now all I need to do is return these methods using getters. Giant pain in the ass this particular class is, but thankfully I'll never really have to touch it again, so. Go. And rolled. That's mostly perfect. And finally the locations. X, Y, and Z. There we go. And that, yep, should be that. Perfect. Alright, so I won't have to mess with that class ever again. Thank Christ. Because that was going to be a giant pain in the ass. Let's get these storage. Perfect. And there we go. All right. I think that's probably good enough for tonight. We're going to call it here and enjoy the sweet, soothing, smooth jazz that's in the background somehow. Oh, chill jazz. Ah, that makes so much more sense. All right, so let me see if I can find tab chat. Perfect. All right, and just give it a quick title. All right, this should be pushed. Now my CI can yell at me. Alrighty, I think yeah, that's gonna be good enough for tonight. We're gonna call it here, and hopefully you guys enjoyed, had fun. I don't know. Yeah, don't have too much fun. Hopefully we can get more viewers as time goes on. We can stream a bit more. Yeah. All right. Enjoy. Bye.